Hi, this is Katie, Our House on Wheels. I just wanted to come on real quick with this week's video. It's not going to be an adventure video. I'll share more next week about our trip from Tennessee to Idaho. But this week is just kind of a somber asking for prayer. If you've seen the news at all, you might have seen that Piney River RV Resort. I don't know if they even actually made the news. Waverly, Tennessee, Dixon, Tennessee, they were hit with some rain, and they have flooding and devastation, lots of devastation. My son and daughter-in-law are staying at Piney River. That's where they're staying currently in their RV. They are full-time RVers. I don't know what's going on back here behind me. They're full-time RVers, as are my son's in-laws, and they all are at this RV park. And yesterday, so Sunday the 22nd, my son FaceTimed me, which he never does, so I thought it actually was my granddaughter playing with the phone. And he's like, "Mom, there's been flooding. We're flooding out." And he, thankfully, his rig was not affected. He hooked up ready to move if he had to. He helped his father-in-law move their rig, and if they had waited much longer, they probably their site was actually underwater about 10 minutes after they moved. As last count, I think 8 rigs were lost down the river. My son's mother-in-law said she watched 5 float away, and then there were I'm going to show you one that they were trying to, the tow trucks had to move, and then there was one stuck in the trees. And when we were walking around looking at all the devastation, there was a neighbor walking her dog that lived up the road, and she said there's a bunch of RVs in the floodplain down here. So obviously this is something that happens in that area, and there was where the RVs ended up in the floodplain. So I think my son was going to go check that area out just to recover some of the RVs. He was able to get into one RV because the people were actually out of town. They'd left their RV and gone on a trip somewhere, and he was able to get a lot of their personal belongings out, important paperwork and just some things that would need to be safe. One of the camp hosts, who actually was supposed to be leaving next week because their time there at Piney River was over, lost his 5th wheel. It was there next to the office, and it was in one piece, but the water, it came up the walls probably, I don't even know how high the water was. It was high. It was like a 35 or 45 feet over flood stage. And if you've ever been to Piney River, you know where the office sits up on the hill and the river is way down across the road, and that's how high up the water was. My son was showing me the picnic shelters and these really high roofs. I want to say the roof tops of these picnic shelters is probably 14 or 16 feet. He said you could not even see them. That's how high the water was. And I just can't even fathom. I could not fathom that much water, because it looked as if, I mean, obviously there was devastation, but the water level was still high, but much, much, much lower, almost within its banks by the time we got there on Sunday. We couldn't get to them Saturday to go and help it and do anything, and we would have probably been in the way. So Sunday we took them some water, we took some diapers, and took them out to Cracker Barrel, because Cracker Barrel is good comfort food, right? So pretty traumatizing. My son did hurt himself helping his son-in-law move, or his father-in-law move his trailer. I don't know what's tapping over there. And he needed stitches, so I think they ended up gluing it. The nurses there are like, "You need to go," and there was no way to get out, so they just glued it. So anyway, so my purpose of this week's video is to ask for prayer, most importantly for prayer for these families that lost their rigs. I know there was one mother-daughter that had to be taken out by helicopter because of medical reasons, and I think the daughter had broken her arm. And they did lose their rig, and their truck actually didn't move. It was still in the same place they'd parked it, but it was completely submerged, and they didn't even know there was a truck there until the water line went down. And it's just crazy to think that the truck didn't get lifted away. So yeah, so all that to say, I'm just asking for prayer Oh, there's a cardinal. You see that right there? Cardinals make me happy. I'm gonna have to find out the meaning behind that showing up during this video. Anyway, if I find out anything of any fundraisers or any support that we can give Piney River, I will definitely keep you all posted. And anyway, have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next week with more adventures from our Tennessee to Idaho and back trip. All right, thanks much. Bye-bye.